Oh, hi. Welcome to Aquata Zoo, where we like to nerd out over all things zoo and aquarium related. I'm Lori Semple, and today I'd like to talk to you about, well, lack of pay. Okay, not really. No, I just want you to know that zoo and aquarium work is not necessarily about the money. For anyone who is looking to switch careers or somehow enter the zoo and aquarium world, this is one of those things that I feel like everyone should know. I was kind of told about it in my undergrad studies. If you go into animal care and a lot of times research, you're doing it because you're passionate about it. It's not because you're going to make a grand sum of money off of it, because you won't. So, yes, these are not crazy high paid jobs, despite the fact that a lot of the time we have to have a lot of experience, a lot of education, and possibly some certifications going along with all of that. At least that's how you get your foot in the door, and that's how it's easiest to get your name in front of somebody who matters. But if you don't have any of those things, don't panic. Don't abandon your thoughts of a career in zoo and aquarium work. Not yet. Because it is very fulfilling and it is a passion project and we love what we do. It's true, I can't deny it. It's fun, it's really interesting, and who wouldn't like our jobs? Like, I work in animal care, and the first question that I get whenever someone sees me in the grocery store with my work shirt on, because, I have limited amounts of free time, and yes, I go from my work to shopping to sustain myself for the week, and then I go on with my life. So I'm in the grocery store sometimes with my work shirt on. They see where I work and they say, "Oh my gosh, do you swim with sharks?" Why, yes, I do. Why do you ask? And then they inevitably don't believe me. But it's true. You asked. Don't ask the question if you're not ready for the answer. But yeah, people are super jealous of our jobs and they think it's the coolest thing ever. And it is great, but the pay is not so much. I mean, you can take it from me. I've said multiple times on here that I have many jobs. At this point, I have technically, I'm going to count the podcast as one because it sucks a lot of time out of my life. So technically, I've got four right now. I've got my aquarium job. That's the main one. My bread and butter, that one. And then I have a retail job. And then I have mystery job that I will tell you about when I'm ready after I'm done with all my training. Because I will need your help, dear listener. But yes, I have kind of four jobs. And I try to do that so that I still have steady income coming. I don't live lavishly. I joke that I'm a high roller because I have Netflix and Disney Plus. Woo! Oh man. Not to brag or anything, but I live a very lavish lifestyle. That's me. So you'll just have to get used to it, I'm afraid. And in recent times, with the job market being what it is right now in the summer of 2021, it's very interesting because ultimately people are turning down all sorts of jobs because they just don't pay enough. And we in the zoo and aquarium world kind of feel that crunch because we're watching. Today in my mail, I got a flyer because this particular company, I did apply and was hired once to work. And at this point, they're hiring for $20 an hour plus $1,000 signing bonus. And I know this company would work me to the bone, so I'm not going to do it. But boy, that is tempting. Because I don't make a lot of money. And I know that the people around me in our specialized jobs, we love the work that we do. But boy, sure would be nice to get paid what we feel like we're worth. And this is not a knock against any facility or institution, zoo, aquarium. Like, no, I'm not knocking anyone because this is just kind of how it is. This is industry standard, which is unfortunate. But we're watching things unfold right now that I haven't seen in my career, and that is the people having the upper hand, the employees having the upper hand in choosing what jobs they prefer to fill. And a lot of that revolves around money. And yeah, we have fulfillment in our jobs with things that aren't money. but it sure does help to pay those bills. Now, to be fair, we work in dangerous conditions. So, slick floors, wet floors, dangerous animals, confined spaces, ladders, all of those things that people find scary in a workplace, zoos and aquariums deal with. We got forklifts running all over the place. We got pallet jacks and big infrastructure that might be unstable, like, animals knocking stuff loose. It happens all the time. So we work in a dangerous field where injuries happen. They happen a lot, unfortunately. As safe as we try to be, stuff happens. Animals are unpredictable sometimes, and, exhibits are unpredictable. Like, it just, junk happens, and we got to deal with it. So our employers do have to deal with that with insurance. So if we get injured, our employers generally pay. I mean, everybody's different, but they pay for workers' compensation and all that kind of stuff. So we are expensive in that realm. Yeah, I've worked with many people in my career, and me myself, I have been injured on the job, and it is unfortunate, but it didn't cost me anything. It did cost my employer, I'm sure, quite a lot for doctor's visits, in some cases surgeries, all that kind of stuff. But they cover that because they have to, because you're asking me to do a dangerous job knowing that injuries are going to happen at some point. And yeah, so they got to deal with that. That's unfortunate. We're also dealing a lot of the time with nonprofits, and nonprofits are trying to break even, right? So they've got to be careful with how much they're spending on their mission versus how much they're spending on the staff to do the mission versus how much, overhead and all that other kind of stuff that's going on. They're not necessarily in it to make a bunch of money. And if you're in a zoo or aquarium to make a bunch of money, you're in the wrong field. Your business model is going to be crazy and you're not going to be successful, because zoos and aquariums are money sinks. We've got animals that we got to take care of no matter what. So you can't cut corners. Otherwise, you're going to get someone injured or killed, or you're just going to have terrible reputations for not taking good care of your animals. And then no one's going to want to come see you. Like, it's just cyclical. It's all related. Don't cheap out. Don't get into zoo and aquarium business for making money, because it's not going to work. So yeah, oftentimes we're working for nonprofits, and they have to be careful about where they're spending money, where they're saving money, and ultimately, in the end, they tend to break even. And so having high paid jobs in animal care is not really an industry standard. Also, we're dealing usually with fairly young employees. So they're kind of willing to work for almost nothing because this might be their first job. This might be early in their career. We generally don't stay in it forever because the work is very physically hard. I don't know. You might be hearing my old bones creaking right now. I have no idea. But if you do, I will try to edit it out. But yeah, I've been in this business for quite some time. I am well aware of my age and the fact that I cannot do this forever. But I'm doing it for now. I'm having a good time, and I'm hoping that I can help others with their career as they get started and or switch over careers, And yeah, someday I'll take a sit-down job somewhere and everything will be fine. But I'm aware right now that I can't do this forever and that the pay is not spectacular, but it's worth it to me for the experience, for working with all kinds of animals that I love, and just, having fun and working at the same time. The trade-off is then I come home from work and then I work some more and then I work some more after that. So I don't have much of a social life. It worked just fine in 2020 when I was at home and couldn't do much else. I had plenty of time to devote to other activities like more work because social things weren't happening. But now, social stuff's happening again and I'm having trouble balancing it all. So I can't necessarily go out and hang with friends because I've got a podcast to record or, training to do or a retail job to work. That's just how it is. So listen, zookeepers and aquarists of tomorrow, I understand that you want to make good money while doing something that you love. But honestly, it's not going to be as much money as you're probably hoping for. It's possibly enough to live on. You know, I've known a lot of people who get roommates or aquarists that live in a little group or that have married a person who is making a decent wage and everything is fine. But just understand going into this that the pay is not really great compared to, especially when you take into account the experience that you're wanting to have, the certifications you might need, and the education that they prefer. So it's tough, but I want to be real with you. It's not the best paying field. But if you love animals and you love all different types of animals and you like walking through your workplace and seeing elephants and seals and birds and all of these cool things, man, zookeeping and aquarium work is for you. It's so neat. Another day at the office means something completely different to us than it does to most people who are working in a legitimate office. You get to see babies born. You get to see animals bounce back from injury or some other challenge, you know, like rehab type situations. It's incredible. It's so great. All those TV shows that they make about behind the scenes zoo and aquarium work, it's real. There are drawbacks to what we do, of course, as there are drawbacks in any job that you might have. But we do this work because we really, really love it. We really love the animals. We love getting down and dirty and getting in the muck and the grime and seeing how an animal, their welfare changes because of things that we've done to make it better, and seeing kids learning about animals because of what we do and being really touched by that and making good choices because of that. I'm not going to throw my garbage just out the window while we're driving down the road because that could be really harmful to animals, whether they're drawn to it and want to rifle through the trash and get hit by a car, or they choke on something plastic that's in there. You know, they learn these lessons, and it's because of a zoo or aquarium that they even fathomed that this was possible, that they even realized that that animal existed, or they didn't realize that it existed in their backyard when it does. So the things that kids do and learn and grow up to value is influenced by what we're doing, and that is so worth it. I'm just now getting to the point where my career has been long enough that I can see kids that were influenced by things that I did or exhibits that I made when I was a baby aquarist. They grow up and go on to do things far greater than me, and that's all you really can hope for, you know? In the first aquarium where I worked, I know that there are kids that were there that are going to the school now that I went to for marine biology, and that makes me so proud because of stuff that they saw in the work that I did back then that touched them enough to make them say, that's it. That's what I want to do. It happened to me. I remember when I was a kid and I went to the zoo in my hometown in Wisconsin, and I saw a lionfish in a tank. And I thought that was the craziest looking fish ever. And I still remember it so vividly. I'm just staring at this fish. This fish is staring back at me. And I was like, this is it. This is all I ever want to do. And, you know, I look at the lionfish we take care of now, and I'm like, you, your distant third cousin twice removed, you're the one who changed it for me. So, you know, I think about my pivotal moment as a kid. I was young. I was so young. And knowing that this is what I was going to do. Not necessarily that I knew I was going to work in an aquarium, but I knew that I wanted to work with fish. And I loved aquatic life, and I wanted to learn more. And knowing that it worked like that for me and seeing it work for other people and other children, oh, that's amazing. It's great. Whew. Sorry, my Wisconsin accent came out there for a second with that amazing. I'm going to leave that in there because it's funny. Okay, so when you're talking about entering the zoo and aquarium field, just know that first they're going to get you with like free work. Whether that's internships or volunteering, they're going to get you in the door with that, right? So you want to do that because that's how you get the experience so that you could land that actual job later, right? So, yes, generally most of us start our careers with internships and volunteering. I did not because I relied totally on timing because I was so broke at the time that I couldn't afford to work and not get money for it, if that makes sense. So I kind of skipped that part, but don't do it that way because that was really hard. I wouldn't recommend it. But zoos and aquariums will get you in the door by volunteering. And that's how you get some of the experience. You get to figure it out. Like, is this field really for me? Do I want to work on the animal care side? Is that for me? Do I prefer to just talk to the public and educate them about all these cool animals? That might be the better route. But ultimately, when you first enter the field, you're kind of feeling stuff out. You're not going to get paid, most likely. And I'm talking the very most basic, typical route through this career. Next, you'll get a part time position and they will pay you at least minimum wage. It's probably not going to be much and most definitely not something that you can totally live off of. So you'll have to scrimp and save and find a roommate and or live at home with your folks, you know. We've all been there. I understand. I'm an only child, okay, and I have issues with roommates. I am not a fan. I like my space. I'm an introvert. I need my quiet time, my space. I'm very weird about how particular I am in the way that I want my day to go, in what little bit of control I have over it. So I instead would like to work my butt off so that I don't have to have a roommate or scrimp and save as much. I like to be relatively comfortable. Like I said, I'm a high roller with my Netflix and my Disney Plus. So I work my main job, which is fine, and then I have other jobs. And I've always been like that. And including when I was part-time at an aquarium, I had other jobs also to keep myself comfortable, I would say. Make sure all those bills were paid. But that's a lot of work. So if that's not your jam, keep that in mind. Eventually, you'll probably get a full-time position, and that's great. And that's when your career, quote unquote, officially starts. And yeah, that's awesome. You'll get to do more. You'll get to see more because you're at the facility more often. You are more involved, and your experience and your influence is going to grow from there, and it's great. But pay's still not awesome. But you're closer to being able to make it on that single income. Plus, you'll probably have benefits at that point too. So that is a big deal. So especially if you're in animal care, if you do get injured or whatever, it's nice to have those benefits just in case stuff goes wrong. It happens. I needed an emergency gallbladder surgery. If I didn't have insurance, I would have fallen apart. But that's because I live in the United States and that's how we roll. Anyway, yeah. After that, you'll start to move up in the facility, probably, maybe get promotions or whatever. You get closer to living comfortably with just the one job. I could do that. I'm not going to say that I can't. However, I've worked so long at a not so stellar pay rate that I have hardly anything saved up for retirement, and I'm not getting any younger. So that is why I am working really, really hard right now, hence the multiple jobs, because I need to save up for, anything. I could get a new car if I needed it. I could go travel if I wanted to. I need to retire at some point. Not anytime soon, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be working until I'm well into my 90s. But I want to have a cushion if anything were to go wrong. So I have multiple jobs. I've chosen to do it that way. But this is just one of those things that I don't feel like we're always prepared for. And we have a school nearby where I am that prepares young folks for zoo and aquarium work. I don't know. I've been trying to investigate this one. I don't know that they really ingrain in the students' minds that they're not going to make good money while doing this job. yes, it's fun. Yes, it's really cool. Yes, you're going to love it, most likely, because if you've gone that far to get a job or to go to school for it, then you're probably going to get a job and go through with the commitment. And I don't know that they really impress upon these young folks that the money's not great, but the fulfillment factor is. That's why I want you to know, dear listener, that this is the situation that we don't get paid great. We get paid and it's reasonable, but the main payment that you can expect is like fulfillment in your heart and soul. You work with really cool animals. You get to touch endangered species. You get to train animals and make animals' lives better. You get to teach kids and families about animals, the cool things that they do, and what's living in their area that they had no idea about. And that is really, really worth it. And it's impactful for the environment, despite what anybody might try to tell you. You have influence, you have impact, the facility has impact, and it matters. I'll tell you. Little story time from me. When I was looking to become an aquarist and or get into marine biology again, I had graduated college and I was broke with a capital B. I had zero money, which is why I couldn't go into internship or volunteering at that time. I had nothing. So I had paid for college myself. I came out of it with no debt, but that was a gamble because I had nothing left. I ended up having to move back home for a little while and I got a job at a law firm doing paralegal work, which was fine and it paid the bills and everything was grand. I did that for a while and then I decided, okay, I've gotten back on my feet. It's time to go back and do marine biology things because that's what I really love. So I started applying and I finally, by a stroke of luck, it was just luck and timing that I got my first aquarium job. And as I prepared to leave, I let the lawyers know that I worked with that I was going to be leaving to go to the coast to do aquarium stuff. And they looked at me like I was insane. Maybe I was, but they couldn't understand why I would leave a job that is relatively easy and pays well in favor of going to do a job that was questionable. And by questionable, I mean doesn't pay much. And I didn't know what the future held at that point. I didn't know how it was going to go. I didn't know if I was going to like it or if I was going to move up. Like, is this a long term solution? Am I just jumping in and seeing what happens? Yes, that's what I was doing. But the lawyers could not understand that. It didn't make sense. Why would you leave your security here to go there to do question mark? And it was just because we viewed success and we viewed financial gain differently. To me, money doesn't equal success at all. And yes, it helps. And that doesn't mean I wouldn't like a raise. I would. But it doesn't, they're not equal. To me, fulfillment and doing the work that I'm passionate for means more to me and means more success to me than taking home a large paycheck every week. So the lawyers that I was working with, I loved them. They were super nice. They were awesome, but they could not wrap their minds around the fact that I would rather be fulfilled than make all the money in the world. And it takes that kind of person to succeed with zoo and aquarium work because the pay's not awesome, but you feel good when you go home. Like you made a difference and that you did something that is going to benefit the kids around you, the families nearby, the community, the world, the wildlife of the earth. In some small way, you played a part in that success. And that is worth it to me. You should have seen some of the looks I was getting. You're going, where? Why? Do you not like your job here? Do we not pay you enough? And, they were ready to throw more money at me, which in hindsight, maybe I should have taken. But no, I wouldn't have because I wasn't happy. I was never meant to work in an office environment like that. Not that I can't work in an office. I can. But it was doing corporate real estate, which at the time was very lucrative and successful. Right now it's a little shaky. But it was not something that I felt really connected to. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like the work that I was doing had any influence over anything other than where's the next Walgreens or CVS going to be. It was just weird, and I didn't feel a really deep connection with my work, and I didn't feel fulfilled, and I always had this like wanderlust. I don't have that anymore, which is great. Because I feel like I can make a difference where I am, and that's awesome. Doing the work that I like, working with animals that are really cool, and doing things that influence our industry and make everyone better at what we're all doing. I love that. I think that's one of my favorite things about the work that we do. I've gotten even more into the people side of things than I ever thought I would have, I will say, where, I'm teaching for AZA, and I'm trying to help the Behavioral Scientific Advisory Group for AZA. Like, I'm getting involved more with people stuff than I ever thought I would in the past, because people was never my strong suit. But I found that because I'm so in tune with animals, you can use the same principles with people. So therefore, I'm more in tune with people than I ever thought I was. And I will preach those skills until my computer dies, or until they shut down my podcast, because I want you all to know that people and animals are not that far apart, and the same skills can apply. So yes, young zookeepers and aquarists of tomorrow, or even older ones, I just want you to understand what you're getting into before you jump in. I wish someone would have told me. They kind of did, but I didn't really understand until I got into it. But then it's all about, how you respond. Some people picked up more roommates. Some people got second jobs, third jobs. Some people, married rich. Whatever way you feel is necessary is perfectly fine. Just know what you're getting into before you get into it, because I don't like it when people are surprised and really disappointed that this work that they've dedicated so much time and effort and training and school time to is not panning out the way they had intended. Because they always told us when we were kids, you get trained or you go to school and you get a good job and then you'll be fine. And it's not always like that. They don't tell you that sometimes you need to pick up multiple jobs. They don't tell you that sometimes you need to move back home and save up some money. And they don't tell you that you might not be able to afford a car, so you're going to have to walk 5 miles to work every day. This is the stuff they don't let you know. So I'm going to try and be proactive and let you know that success does not equal money, but also money helps you live your life. Just be aware that our jobs typically don't pay super duper well in comparison to other people who have, I guess, similar types of training and expectations as far as the job description, preferences, and requirements go. Yeah, if I applied my experience and knowledge to another field, I'd probably make more money. But it's not about money to me. It's about loving the work that I do and making a difference in the world. And if you're parents who need to hear it right now, success does not equal money. Period. Okay, I think that's all the ranting and or warning that I need to give for this episode. If you have any questions about that or about any other zoo and aquarium things or leadership and management stuff, feel free to let me know. You can write it up in an email, send it to me at aquatazoo@gmail.com. If you'd like to trim it down to 140 characters or less, you can find me on the old Twitter at aquatazoo. If you're enjoying the show, don't forget you can always subscribe so that you can get new content as soon as it releases. You can also feel free to leave a rating or review on your podcast player of choice. If you feel so inclined to support the stream financially, you are more than welcome to. Not necessary, but appreciated. It is patreon.com/aquatazoo. Okay, thanks for listening. I heart your faces. Okay, bye.